Sound screening. Action.
We're embarking on the exciting journey of building new capabilities for video that have the potential to free creators of the existing constraints of video production. We should be thinking not so much about what video tools are like today or what the competition is doing, but more about what the future of video production could be like. First things first, how do we stand out? The existing pro video market is deeply saturated by Final Cut Pro, Premiere Pro, Resolve, and Avid. But these monolithic programs are entrenched in existing video conventions. On the other hand, the consumer video market is highly fragmented between a variety of apps that might make things simple, but doesn't allow for much capability or growth. And now we see an emerging video market that's hyper-focused on becoming the Figma of video, but they often feel so drawn to that concept that it feels more like they're rebuilding the Figma experience and slapping video on top, rather than being viscerally aware of the needs of video creators. So if we want to stand out from this crowd, what do we need to do? You need to be able to edit a video, obviously. You should be able to do it with multiplayer collaboration, you should be able to do it on the web, and you should be able to do it pretty easily and enjoyably. But then there's the less obvious points. We need to recognize that not all collaborators in video are equal, and there should be a mix of generalist and specialist workflows. We need to recognize that there are technical standards for delivery that video creators have to meet. We need to recognize that the resource needs of high-end video are orders of magnitude greater than graphics or text, and creators simply cannot feel limited by the amount of storage or computation available to them. And then, very, very important, we need to recognize that social video does not necessarily mean simple video, and social creators are not stupid by any means. To illustrate this, I've got a quick TikTok to share.
This is how I made my short film, The Yellow String, in just 2 weeks. I was walking in this park one day and I thought it looked really creepy and cinematic. So I took a bunch of pictures of it as a reference and decided to make a film. And I thought, what could I write with the constraints of having just a few people in one scene? First, you have to write the script, so I used this free program called Highland. While I was prepping everything, I got some friends to shoot with me and we coordinated our schedules. Next, I made a shot list. First, I do it in chronological order, then I put it in shooting order and add times to the side to make sure that we stay on track. I also created a mood board for the cinematographer to make sure that he knew what look I was going for and what lenses and stuff to bring, and then it was time to shoot.
Okay, shot 1C, take 1.
Action. Okay, the sound's subsiding, close call, but you're good. Next, I brought it into the edit. I used GarageBand and my audio recorder to make my own sound effects and music. Then I threw it up on TikTok, and I'm honestly really proud of it. I hope to make more of these soon.
So let this be a rule that we vow to follow from the very beginning. Social does not equal simple, and we will never devalue the skill set, needs, or vision of any creator. Number 2, how do we leave the realm of post-production? Film production is traditionally a very rigid waterfall process, and editing, coming at the very end of that waterfall, is traditionally very isolated. So you have to ask the question, just because this pre-production, production, post-production waterfall is what film has known for so long, is it necessarily the best way to do things? I spent a lot of time studying the history of video technology, and something that I find really interesting is how many different people have wanted to break filmmaking free from these silos. When Randy Ubelos created a project codenamed KeyGrip, which eventually became Final Cut Pro, he envisioned a tool that let people work on all parts of the project from concept to completion, but it ultimately never made it that far. An early digital video system called Midas believed that producers, editors, and writers all need tools connected. But then perhaps most famously, Francis Ford Coppola was obsessed with an idea that he called electronic cinema.
In the electronic cinema department, Francis was always experimenting with way out concepts.
And you push a button,
I have a research department in my company. We do some interesting things.
And what I want to do, I think, is I want to walk around while I'm listening to the soundtrack, walk around all of these storyboards, sort of like this. Come in here as I'm hearing the movie, and let's say these all have numbers on them, and then be able to say 13, 14, 13, 15. More or less editing the movie with this spatial representation walking all the way around. People can take this unit, which is a disk storage, which holds all of those images in an electronic sense, and arrange it so that you're able to call up those images that are on the board right into the tape. It's so you can push a button at any time and say, show me the movie as it is now. Right now it's just drawings, but maybe in another 2 weeks we'll do a scene in front of a blue backing.
Years later, pre-visualization, as Francis called it, would become a common process in filmmaking.
Ultimately, as we sophisticate the principles that are in this, you'll be able to synthesize a movie in prototype form.
These days, there's really only two major places where pre-visualization took off. There's major blockbuster films, where previs is used to plan out complex sequences in CGI, but ultimately, the rest of the process is still very much like the old waterfall. But then there's Pixar. They describe their workflow as a wheel, not a waterfall, and the editorial department is at the center of that wheel.
Pete Docter's creative process is highly collaborative. Every time we're working on a scene in storyboards and Pete is here, we'll have a story artist in the room. And then I'm sitting in the middle of all this.
The proof always is an editorial. Because you're watching it as a piece of film at that point, it's much easier to face its problems. His realm being in editorial, and my realm being in creating the moments in drawing and in design and language, they have to start resonating and echoing each other.
Sometimes it's like making music. Bob's writing and artist is drawing and I'm editing.
So knowing all of this, we can see how major the opportunity is in not just creating another video editor, there's plenty of those, but creating a video tool that is the heart of the entire filmmaking process. The very name of the company Sequence almost hints at this. A sequence is not an editorial timeline necessarily, but just a set of things that come before and after each other to convey information. So why can't all of the elements of the production tie back to the sequence from the beginning of any project, making the sequence the single source of truth? Here's what that might look like. When a project is started, creators have concept development modules that allow them to start writing out ideas or playing with visuals to create storyboards and rehearsal clips. All of the information generated here is treated as assets in the same way any file from a camera is, so at any time the film can be played back in prototype form, and the assets can be in any stage between concept frames and final clips. A set of production modules would be able to look at the information in a sequence and know what needs to be shot by the creators. Additionally, everyone on production can actually watch back this prototype film in motion, not rely on text and images on paper to know what they're shooting. A next-generation video library becomes the powerhouse that connects production to post-production by creating not just a place to drop media files, but an intelligent asset database where storyboards can be versioned into production shots, metadata and tags are instantly shared, content intelligence provides additional information about things like subjects, dialogue, or actions, and technical details like color management are automatically applied across media without people having to worry about it for every asset at every stage of handoff. From there, the media can be used in the editorial tooling, which seamlessly connects powerful editing, color, graphics, audio, and VFX capabilities right in the context of the timeline. In addition to robust editorial tools, Sequence can be deeply community powered. So if some kind of stock media is needed to round out an edit or a new effect, or the skill set of a specific kind of collaborator is needed, or there's just some niche workflow that could be solved by a plugin, the editorial team can find all of it directly through Sequence. And then finally, videos could be screened through Sequence. There's no need to upload to a review service, no need to send a hard drive, just jump from the Sequence into a review screening, or set up a custom delivery page for a client. Maybe creators should even be able to host their screenings on publicly browsable channels, because Lord knows they have plenty of issues with YouTube these days. And now the last question. How do we empower all levels of creators? George Lucas said this to the SF Chronicle in 1970. We're entering an age of filmmakers. Someday, every 10-year-old kid will be able to buy a kit and shoot a movie. Think what this will do to civilization. Movies will replace the pen. Everybody is going to be making movies. This prediction is finally coming true in the 2020s. Like one of my all-time favorite tweets says, Gen Z is actually a global army of video editors, and we have the opportunity to equip that global army with the tools to embrace video literacy, to communicate ideas, to express themselves, and to create art for others. One of the biggest shortcomings of existing video tools is that they don't allow for flexibility in the same way as pen and paper. They either focus on one end, where making a video could be really easy, but you can't do many things to customize or improve it. Or on the other end, where you can do almost anything you can imagine to a video, but it's really difficult to learn how to do. The thing is, that's not how creating works. There are no distinct monetizable market segments when it comes to self-expression. Some people will create a very basic video to communicate an idea and be done with it, and that's totally fine. But then some people will create a basic video and then feel excited and empowered by what they've done and wonder what they can do with their next video, how much farther they can push their knowledge, their skill set, their imagination. The best thing we can do as a video tool is to give them those low floors to get started and those high ceilings to keep going. We're at the beginning of an age now where internet filmmakers are entering the world of ultra high-end production, and the things they are making are so intricate compared to what we knew in the world of film before.
Art is messy, creativity is messy. We should embrace that. The reality of this timeline is, I think, kind of beautiful, but it's a mess. And it worked. This was the timeline that we were using to do screenings. This is what we were, working in. And it's funny because you'll see, like, I do a lot of just stacking clips on top of each other. There's a lot of disabled clips that I leave in the timeline because they're kind of discarded ideas or ideas I might want to come back to. The way that this works, it works the way that my brain works.
While that is all much more advanced than what many novice creators would try, the truly foundational things that pros are looking for in their video tools are universally beneficial.
Just get out of the way. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I like it to be just as fluid as possible. I mean, early on when we were doing searching, me and Nick, who couldn't be here, we're joking about what if you could edit with your brain? It's just an interface. And I kind of want the thing that approaches that as closely as possible.
Yeah, I agree. I think just be as invisible as possible. The smaller the filter between your brain and what comes out is, I think, the best.
I think it definitely needs to be reliable. What I really like to have is editors always want more and everything and see every frame. So I love to be able to, be really messy and do my thinking in the timeline, but also, once you're kind of farther ahead in the process, be able to be incredibly exact and be able to ask the technology to do something very, very specific, and to have those two things in one platform is amazing.
Whew. If you have made it this far in the video, congratulations. I know this is a lot to think about, but I hope you can see we really have an exciting opportunity here to not just create another video editing application, but to actually change the way that films are made. So while there's a lot of work for us to do right now to get the basics of sequence set up, I hope that this resonates with you and that we can keep an eye on the future of what sequence could be when it grows up. Thanks for watching.